So lyrics have always been pretty tough for me to write. I always overthink things or just make them too cheesy, but this year I've been really trying to get better at writing quality lyrics and becoming more efficient at doing so. And in learning a lot of these tips, techniques, I think one of the biggest things that has helped me along is to narrow the scope of events that take place within the lyric of a song that you're working on. So if we think about this, your lyrics of a song will cover a certain amount of events that take place. And the amount of events that take place can vary. For example, you might have a song that covers the span of maybe 6 weeks of time. You may have a song that covers an hour of time that takes place. And by narrowing the scope of events that take place, you can become a lot more detail oriented in your lyrics. And by becoming more detail oriented, you can develop a much better connection with your audience. Because the main way that an audience kind of builds connection with a song is through like visual imagery and introspection about thoughts and feelings. And so if you don't kind of have both of those, then your song becomes a bit too general and there's really just not a real connection. And that's something that historically I've fell victim to, is that the span of events that takes place within my songs is vast. And so I want to share an example with you of a song that I wrote called Stranger in My Body. You can check this out on my YouTube channel or on my Spotify, but I'm going to pull up the lyrics and we'll kind of analyze this, because when I wrote this, it was before I even looked into the lyric writing process. So this was just something that I wrote just to try to make something sound cohesive and decent. And they're average, but there's definitely a lot of ways that it could be improved upon. But I'm going to keep this to just focusing on the scope of events that take place. So if we look at it, the general concept of the song is someone goes out with friends. They meet a guy meets a girl that he did not know prior. He develops feelings for her, wants to end up being in a relationship, but then realizing that the relationship doesn't work out because he couldn't be himself around her. So then it falls through. Yikes. That's a lot of stuff that takes place. I wrote all of that in one song when that probably could have been an entire album. So that's the first big problem, is that this takes the span of events that take place within this song is probably like 6 months to a year, which is just, there's no way to build a connection with an audience and when there's just so much going on. So if we look at this, the first verse starts off okay, and then it paints a picture of being out late at night with friends, dancing, having a good time, and then some girl catching this guy's eye. And then the pre-chorus is talking about wanting to make her mine and starting to be in a relationship with her and all that jazz. And then it kind of falls through in the second half of the pre-chorus, because it's basically like, oh, I should have seen the signs that things weren't going to work out, which kind of throws a wrench in the whole mood of the lyrics already. Because again, this event here probably took place months after the night out. So then in the chorus, it's like, oh, well, everything seemed peachy and everything seemed perfect. And then again, this feeling like you couldn't be yourself around this person. And so there's just this weird dichotomy of positive events and negative events that to me just doesn't really connect well with the audience. So if I were to rewrite this, it would be pretty much just expanding upon the events and feelings that happened just on that night and just wanting to be with this person. If I were to rewrite this song, at least the lyric part of it, it would be focusing just on that. Because if we go to verse 2, again, so this is kind of the verse 2 lyrics, now we're basically talking about how this guy feels like he can't be himself around her, and he tries hard to make it work, but he just knows that it's not going to work, and so he has to leave as a result of that. And so basically this song details an entire, not even the start of a relationship, but even prior to that. So meeting someone for the first time and then the downfall of that relationship. That's way too much. That's ridiculous. So this definitely could be parsed into like so many different songs. And if you've kind of read through this at all, there's a lot of talk about events that happen, but not in like any great detail. Like, okay, we were out with friends, but maybe I could have talked about um, what the bar looked like, or more of the thoughts and feelings of the people that I were with, what or kind of utilizing what senses were around me. So what kind of music what I was listening to, smells around me. Although maybe smells isn't a good one at late night at a bar. But anyway, you get the idea. I could have used sense language to kind of become a little bit more detailed, and there's no way I could have done that with such a big scope of events taking place. So that's probably going to be the biggest change for me going forward, is that the songs that I'm going to write are going to take place in a much narrower span of time. And so for a song that I'm releasing that is coming up, that I'm collaborating with someone, it takes the lyrics take place in a much narrower field of time, and I think it just is a lot more powerful that way. So if you are someone that maybe kind of falls into that same boat, you find that you just kind of throw a bunch of lyrics in, and the span of time around them is vast. See if you can narrow that down, and then that way you can be a lot more detailed, and you now have material that you can make another song from. And that should be, I would hope, pretty helpful for you, at least as far as efficiency in lyric writing. All right, so I hope that you have found this helpful, and if so, definitely check out this other video because you may find it just as helpful. All right, take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.